Yes. And we are live. Live. Okay. We're ready. Let's do this. Taka mo na. Di pa pala. Wait Let me check. Kung live na tayo.
Sa Pop Beans.
Pop Beans, okay na, no? Okay na sa Pop Beans. Okay.
Yes, there na ang Pop Beans.
Tapos, yan ako lang. Activate ko lang yung isang group para yung messages nila, hindi yung parang mga troll lang, Mikel.
Facebook user.
Yun, meron ka lang, kailangan pala i-accept para mangyari.
Okay. Ang dami. Facebook user. Mga paid trolls ni Ron eh.
Oh, talaga. All right, here we go. Wow, bagal nun ah. Di ka agad lumabas. Uh-oh. Amateur. What's this thing covering, Celine?
Yeah, pinakamagandang itsura dito, tinakpan mo. Ayan.
Oh, Jesus.
Wow, thank you. We already have some viewers from Antipolo. Wow, even from the UK. Galing. Nice. Hi, guys.
Nice.
She floats like a swan.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Grace on the water.
Welcome to Istoryang futBOLERO.
Lips like sugar.
I just don't know how to turn up the sound,
Like sugar.
but it's happening.
I hope it's not gonna be like this all night. Ayan. Nandiyan pa. Ayan.
Welcome to the show. This is Istoryang futBOLERO. My name is Ron Poblete. And I was able to play the music, but I forgot how to turn it off. Welcome to the program. My name is Ron Poblete, like I said, and we're doing Istoryang futBOLERO. We have a very special topic for tonight because all the bashing has happened on social media. Maraming mga nag-away-away na po sila lahat sa Twitter kasi syempre lumabas si Vice President, sabihin ko sana Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo. Panahon pa yata. Hindi Vice President pala siya noong.
Pagkagalan nun, bro.
Erap, no? Panahon ni Erap.
Erap.
Arroyo. Pero bagay sa kanya kasing title na Vice President. But we're talking about the Vice President of today, si Leni Robredo. She appeared on TV before the special announcement of the President. I think this was the other day, Mikel, right?
Yesterday. Was it yesterday? I don't know na.
And now, siya ang pinapag-usapan the last couple of days. Obviously, iba-iba ang impression ng mga tao na sumasali sa debate or sa argument or sa pag-aaway-away sa social media. May iba, pinapalabas nila, impress sila na dapat ang Vice President ganito magsalita. Ang Presidente dapat ganito ang asal. Ganito, talaga, prepared. At malaman ng sinasabi. Diba? And then the other side naman, syempre they're laughing their butts off because there's so many things that they want to comment. They've been commenting on the press conference, including what she was wearing, tapos yung eyeglasses, tapos yung halatang nagbabasa daw siya ng script. Tapos ang daming komento, nag-aasara na lang ng dalawang parties sa topic na to. But obviously, mas malalim yung usap-usapan natin about that particular press conference. For some, it's incumbent in the Vice President to show some character and become the voice of the country if they feel that they don't have one. But at the same time, they feel that she is a pariah and she is just already campaigning for 2022. So may mga ganung mga debates and arguments happening, most especially on our favorite platform, Twitter. Twitterverse. Doon lahat ng mga woke daw. Tama ba yun, Celine? Are you one of the wokes? Hindi naman, hindi, no? Hindi ka mahilig sa social media. Too cool for school to si Celine, eh. Hindi,
this is why I admire her.
Yon. Tama.
Toxic si Twitter.
Toxic si Twitter, di ba? Si Celine, kaya fresh na fresh. Kasi hindi yan nagbabother at all going on Twitter. But the funny thing about Twitter, a lot of people would say that Twitter is a lot of manufactured noise, sabi nila. Kasi the difference between Twitter and Facebook, kaya the opposition can't dominate Facebook is because there's just too many real people on Facebook and a lot less on Twitter. And it would go as far as people criticizing Twitter because most of the people there are pseudo-intellectuals. Yun, mga pa-coffee shop para sabihing, sila, alam mo yun, marunong. Tapos, yun. So yun ang usap-usapan doon. And we're not only talking about the vice president, we're also talking about the revolutionary government because up to now, meron pa rin some parties have been talking about it still. The Department of Finance Secretary, si Teddy Boy Locsin, medyo he didn't have nice words to say, kind words to say about one of the undersecretaries of the DILG because medyo may clash of ideas, and we could probably, because one is I don't know, maybe a bit supportive of a revolutionary government. He was arguing that this is constitutional, part of probably free speech, but the other guy says, si Teddy Boy Locsin says otherwise. So meron tayong ganyang conversation, and sabi ko nga kay Celine, I promise her there's gonna be a lot of variety in our conversation tonight, including stuff about corruption, because hindi pa rin natatapos hanggang ngayon ang usap-usapan about PhilHealth. And funny thing, Celine was just in Pag-ibig today. Diba? Doing some admin stuff. Right, Celine?
Shout out to all the Pag-ibig funds people out there.
Kamusta ba yun? Nahirapan ka ba sa pag-file or pag-asikaso ng mga papeles mo sa Pag-ibig for your company?
Hindi sa mahirap, matagal ang pila.
Oh, sumaba pa rin ang pila. Okay. Yeah, I kind of experienced that anywhere you go. Even a satellite office of the Pag-ibig, medyo mahaba-haba din talaga yung pila. Ganun din siguro kadami talaga yung beneficiaries, no? Ang daming nagdidepend sa Pag-ibig, SSS, pati PhilHealth. Yun. Mikael, ikaw, kamusta ka? Kamusta ang benta ng Auntie Anne's today? How are you doing? GCQ is back.
Same, although all stores are open now, so at least everybody can work for the most part. Okay naman, can't complain. We should just go back to the old level so that we can sustain. Pero we still have jobs, and we're just very grateful right now. And thank you to all our fans, our Pretzel fans, and everybody who continues to support us. Yun lang. Thank you. But other than that, okay naman. I cannot complain, no? Buhay tayo, lahat tayo, walang sakit for now. Touch wood. So that's it. Everything else is just incidental.
Yeah, that's good to hear, Mikael, kasi among all the people we know who own a business, you've been stellar.
No.
Stellar, man.
I'm just trying to prove a point. I told my team this a lot, because I've said it many times na talagang we believe in our people. That's without our people, wala yung business, no? And we really look after them. So I'm trying to, kasi a lot of people sinabihan na ako, no, Mikael, you really have to cut costs, remove people, ganyan. And I'm really, really resisting kasi feeling ko we can turn it around with our existing things and just look after the ones we have. So bahala na si Batman. I just want to say thank you to the hard-working people of Auntie Anne's who continue to go out there on a day-to-day basis to serve the freshest pretzels to all the customers there. I'd be nothing without these guys. So thank you.
Yeah, masarap naman taga pretzels ng Auntie Anne's, pati yung kanilang pretzel dog. Sabi ni Alexander Pabruada, he is watching from Antipolo City. We have some people who are watching all the way from the UK, like G. Albiso and Susie Nawa. Mga kababayan mo, Mikael.
My fellow Brits. Hello, guys. How you doing?
Parang si Orion, bro. Si Orion, kayang-kaya mag-switch from one accent to another.
Wala. I didn't have an accent naman when I lived there. Pinoy na Pinoy pa rin tayo. Kahit ganito yung itsura ko. Although my sister kasi when she moved there, she was like 5 years old, 6 years old. So siya, pagkausap, British talaga accent.
British talaga.
We even have somebody watching from Kazakhstan. Wow.
Oh, diba? Kazakhstan, si Echo Amoriente. Si Ben
Wow.
John of Zamboanga City is watching. Si Nabi Gomez of Baguio.
Nice.
And then ayun, may mga comments na tayo about the topic already. And somebody from Naga City, si Rick San Juan. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. Si G. Albiso is doing well. Ben John, let's start with the topic that we've been talking about. A comment from Susie. She starts off by saying, si Madam Tapia, Mema VP Leni. I doubt si Celine knows who Madam Tapia is. Kilala mo ba si Miss Tapia, no, Celine?
So,
Alam mo, hindi ko naisip yun, ha? Tapos bilang naisip picture ko yung tsura ni Miss Tapia. Oo nga, no?
It was from school bukol, Celine. It's super old school.
okay.
Maghanap tayo ng litrato ni Miss Tapia para lang sa kaalaman ni Celine Raveloso. Kasi walang kalam-alam sa 80s na TV shows. So, loko to si Suzy, what a way to start the show, no?
Yeah, but I saw a few comparisons nga on the internet when she did their thing, comparing kasi nga, di ba, they changed her image a bit or whatnot. Natawa lang talaga. Natawa ako kasi nag-get ko kagad yung reference. Ibig sabihin, nanonood talaga akong school bukol before.
Ay, oo, may mga memes pala talaga, oh. Saka, ito na lang pakita ko yung mga meme na na lumabas na kino-compare si Robredo tsaka si Miss Tapia.
Hindi nga.
Para maliwanagan at may matutunan naman si Celine na worthwhile sa ating programa ngayon. Ayun. Ito, Celine, let me show you her picture. Mga loko to mga viewers natin, Mikel, alam mo mas...
Hindi galing sa amin yan, ha? Galing sa viewers yan. That's not my personal view.
Yung mga dilaw mong kaibigan, Mikel, baka lalong magalit sa'yo.
Okay lang.
Nako, si Mikel talaga, sobrang makadigong, kahit na hindi.
Like I said, I'm pro-Philippines.
Yon. Yeah, ito, Celine.
I love everyone. And pakita ko kay Celine para...
Yeah. Wow,
Oh my
man.
God.
Oh my God. Wow.
It's just a coincidence.
Wow, how uncanny. Solid,
Yeah.
man. Kulang. Grabe. Si Miss Tapia.
You know, what I'm more amazed by is how quickly the internet was able to do this. Parang, naisip nila kagad na ganyan. Sabi ko, wow, talagang hindi ka pwede magkamali sa internet. Hindi ka talagang papalagpasin ng mga yan.
Maraming matabang isip sa social media.
Actually,
isip, no?
Actually, ang bumubuhay sa akin throughout this pandemic is all the memes. So, tuloy-tuloy nyo lang lahat ng mga memes. Basta mapatawa tayo everyday, okay yan.
Yung mga komento dito, sabi ni Clark Kent, sarado isip kung taka mo na. Ayun, si Eric Salumbides says, school bukol. Yun Celine. Meron mga video sa
YouTube.
Check it out para lang magkaroon ka ng content.
That's a good show.
Tapos, may former colleague from Davao. When I started radio sa Davao, this is one of the guys I used to work with, si Jixen Fuego, si Mr. Ripper ng Magic 89.1 ng Davao. Tawa lang siya ng tawa sa reference. Ayun. Alan Mungkal says, epic. Epic talaga, bro. And then, Alexander Pabruada, mas gusto ko pa si Miss Tapia.
Grabe naman.
Grabe ko naman, bro. Alright. So anyway, meron naglabas ng meme, no? Tapos, alam mo, ito yung nakakabahala. Seriously, Mikel, ito yung nakakabahala, Celine, Mikel. We have a few friends kasi nag-post, and then, syempre, alam mo naman social media, you can express your opinion on social media, di ba? And then she exposed a few things about the look, mga ganyan, yung mga ginawa nila na because it looked fabricated nga. it looked manufactured. It looked like a PR person asked her to do this and that, to look this way, to say this, to say that, no? And we're not even sure if she wrote that script, diba? Kasi but it's obvious that she was reading the script. And maybe the eyeglasses, hindi lang siguro na discount natin, baka the eyeglasses was not for show. Ang eyeglasses para lang mabasa niyo yung teleprompter. Diba? Mahirap naman siguro magbasa ng teleprompter kung malabo mata mo, kaya siguro nagsalamin. So, pwede yun ang posibilidad. But at the same time, may isip mo rin, grabe naman yung timing. Bakit naman ginawa ng a few hours before the president, and then bigla lang maglalabas sila ng mga statements, tapos mga memes of support sa Twitterverse, na kesyo, buti pa tong si Vice President, ginagawa niya yung kanyang speech, prime time daw, hindi daw midnight, na kung saan mga tao gusto nang matulog, pinupuyat daw ni presidente yung ating sambayanan ng ating publiko. Buti considerate daw si Vice President. Ganun daw, dapat professional. Oh, di ba? So then this person nga, and then she posted something like that, and she's a very popular blogger also. She has a name that sounds like a celebrity, no? And people know her because she's also a pretty face. Alam mo, tinake down account niya ng FB, ng Facebook. Tapos just because she criticized what VP Leni did. Against community standards. So
But then they could say Duterte and say death to President Duterte and all sorts of stuff, and that's okay. This is not the fault of the other side. For me, more the policing of Facebook on their policies and their enforcement, medyo vague talaga. I mean, that's why also there were a lot of mga big brands in the States. They were boycotting Facebook ads and all sorts kasi nga Facebook allows certain things to be said by, kuwari, si Donald Trump, kung ano-anong pwede niyang sabihin, but then somebody says something that's not even remotely controversial, all of a sudden, tanggal na kagad yung mo. So
right.
Yun lang, medyo magulo si Facebook sa ganyan. Although, mahirap talaga yan kasi freedom of expression. But parang it's just weird because you see the other side saying so many bad things, but todo bigay okay lang, di ba? Nobody takes their account down, but the minute you make fun of somebody's glasses or whatnot, it should be fair is what I'm saying.
I doubt that people from Facebook will even pay attention to complaints like that. Kasi, well, first of all, they have Rappler and Vera Files as their sort of like arbiter. They're the ones, sila yung nag-check, sila yung nagfa-fact check daw sa Facebook. And when you think about it, both of those publications, both of those media companies are pretty biased themselves. Alam mo yun?
I don't know much about yung sa Vera Files, but yung sa Rappler, yes, pretty much.
Diba? So how can you fact check other people when you yourself can't fact check yourself? And then just recently, Rappler came out with this article na totally speculative, to say the least. Walang facts to back it up, but are they fact checking themselves? And then you have like other blog sites or other Facebook pages that are echoing certain information, but they're not blocking them. Ang nakakabahala dyan, Celine, is that they are using mass reporting as their weapon. So if they don't like you, if you are from the other side, they will congregate on on Twitterville or Twitterverse, and then they will just hashtag pabagsakin si, let's say, Mocha Uson blog, tapos mass report nila yan for violating community standards, and then before you know it, a few hours later, wala na, down na yung site. Tapos you have to contest it, diba? And then you have to, and then this woman, what this woman did, si MJ Kiambao, what she did was she explained herself, but she knew kasi na the way they decide on things, they don't really probably review what's on the content. So she just sent them some gibberish stuff, and true enough, they responded totally unconnected to what her complaint was. Parang standard reply lang, Alam mo yun? We reviewed um, ang tawag dito, your email for reconsideration, ganyan, or your message to us, and we still think that you violated, community standards. So Celine, ikaw, you being a neutral, what can you say about that? Is one yielding um, much more influence over a platform that's supposed to be neutral because it's supposed to be a democratic space where people can express themselves freely and not, parang block just one party from expressing themselves? What do you think of that?
Well, for to be honest, I don't really know who's really all behind the scenes, who's deciding these guidelines, because Facebook changes this every single day. And I don't even know, who's deciding that. And then also, they're starting to adopt a lot of artificial intelligence
Oh
more
yeah, tama.
into their system. So, it's not just people now deciding. There are machines that are already partly doing this. So,
Mm,
so there's that part, because I work in advertising, and one of my clients
mm-mm.
right now, one of our clients, their ads all of a sudden got shut down,
Mm.
which
Okay.
those ads were running for the longest time, and then all of a sudden overnight, they got shut down, and there were no clear reasons, and even Facebook doesn't have, like, a specific answer.
Mm,
They don't know. So now it's been a week for that business that their ads aren't running, and for them, they're very reliant on their advertising
mm.
for their business, and so they're struggling at the moment because there's something there that we don't know what's going on. So I don't think it's really just, I don't think it's like, maybe there would be like some impartial forces that control, but I don't think it's like targeted to a specific
Group.
group.
Okay.
That's just what I think. I think everyone should just not be very careful with what they read online. I think everyone should have their own values. It's not about like, what is apparent. It's not what everyone is saying. I think everyone should be responsible to find it in their heart to know what values are important to them
Right.
and go with that, instead of like, playing around and like going with the chatter that's currently out there, because that's all trash, to be honest. Like, I'm really disappointed with like all this talk and these criticisms and fights. Nakakahiya, because, and I think the Filipinos are so smart. I think Filipinos are super creative. I think we're one of the most creative people in the whole world.
Sure.
Diba? Like I said,
True.
in a few minutes, may meme na funny na kagad. Diba? Imagine mo kung gamitin nila yan for better purposes. Diba?
Oo nga naman. Tama. Yeah. How about you, Mikael? What's your take on this?
Well, I have a love-hate relationship with Facebook and most social media now. Like for now, I turned off my I deleted Instagram and stuff from my phone. Facebook, I keep mostly because of my work. Like Celine said, like for Auntie Ants, we use Facebook primarily for our ads. Most of our advertising is done on Facebook. Actually, wala kami mga billboards or anything, especially now, no? But meron kanina yung pinadala kong meme kanina, yung kita dito. Wait. Yung,
Yeah.
yung ayoko na sa social media, sobrang toxic. Joke lang, may online business ako. So, that's me in a nutshell. I hate Facebook, but I need it, no? Kasi nga, but like what Celine said dun sa ads, we also had an issue for Auntie Anne's with some of our ads sa Facebook na I pay a certain amount to boost, and I'm very active. I'm the one who does it all. No, for us, we don't have an agency. I do it all, and it's so hard to explain because there's some days that the ad does well. There's some days that it's different, and I'm paying the same amount, same type of boost, same type of ad. And there are days where they'll call me and say, "Oh, your ad is not boosting or whatever." Like, why? It's the same thing. I know, and there's no real good explanation. So and that's why I go on the internet and I research. Even our marketing team, parang naguguluhan kami. So kung kami nga naguguluhan, I'm sure the same applies to the normal posts of others. And like Celine said, I'm sure there's mga artificial intelligence na that will flag a post as toxic or whatever it is. So yun lang. But going back, I think primarily I just hate Facebook because it's just it's. You remember before where we had like a brain to mouth filter, diba? Bago mo sabihin sa mundo yung gusto mo sabihin, you didn't have. Now people think of something, galit sila, and immediately they'll type on Facebook immediately. And then mamaya they'll regret it. But parang you don't have that that time to think anymore, and then that's why it just breeds so much hatred on both sides, di ba? We will complain na pinatanggal yung post ni but then on the other side, ganun din, di ba? It can be played both ways. So I think personally, although we are on Facebook now for our stream, I think personally Facebook plays this game very, very well. They make so much money from it. And all this division, all of this madness that goes on, they thrive on that, sadly. Because if you didn't have that, then less people would go on Facebook, di ba? People just go and rant there and fight with everybody. I know people who go on Facebook just to pick fights in the comment section. That's really like, I think they get kicks from that, and that's ridiculous. I mean, before you wouldn't have that. You wouldn't just walk up to somebody in the street, diba, and start picking a fight with him. Hihirit-hiritan mo na, gulpihin ganun, diba? So I think sometimes that's the difficulty with Facebook, and the problem with social media is that. It's easy lang to say, "Oh, just disregard it," but it's so powerful. In the hands of the wrong people, and we've seen it, diba, in the States, the elections were manipulated by the Russians. They just put fake news all over the place on Twitter and whatnot, and that's what that created so much hatred. There's so much division now in those kinds of countries. But sana kung pwede mo lang ignore, walang no harm, no foul, diba? Pero ang people are just allowed to say whatever, pay for all this propaganda, and people. Ang mahirap dyan, people believe it. Alam mo, ilang beses ka na napadala na-share ng article na alam mo, pag binasa mo ng matino, say, oh my God, this doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But by the time that got to you, your titas and titos shared that already 1,000 times to all of their friends, di ba?
Right. Mm-mm.
That's why I personally, I really wish, one of the things I hate the most, on the last, like if we could redo the whole, is I'd get rid of social media. Although it has some benefits, I'd say, I think all the other stuff is just too much. It's just the amount of time people spend on social media. That alone should be already banned. Diba?
Lately, I've been having some time off. And all I do is no, actually, I have time off like after 5:00 up. And then what I do usually is I watch videos from YouTube. And one of the YouTube videos na pinapanood ko parati ngayon is si Joe Rogan. Yung mga UFC fans dyan, si Joe Rogan, siya yung parang ringside announcer ng UFC. Si Celine, by the way, is Mikel, hindi ka pwedeng magloko kay Celine. Jiu-jitsu yan. Are you a brown belt, Celine, or something? I know you're like, medyo...
Blue belt.
Blue belt? Patay. Yung mga
Hindi mo pwede awahin si Celine, gulpingin ganyan, bro. Mag-tap out ka. Tap out! I'm out!
So Celine knows, her face all of a sudden lit up, no? Kasi when I mentioned Joe Rogan's name, kasi the UFC is the biggest mixed martial arts competition in the world, and kung hindi nyo alam po, si Joe Rogan meron po siyang YouTube channel, meron siyang podcast. So a podcast basically is a talk show. Now you can listen, and at the same time you can watch it also on YouTube. So he has that and a very interesting thing about Joe Rogan is hindi all related to mixed martial arts yung mga interviews niya. Actually, he's had some really profound, interesting, hardcore, scientific, conversations with experts.
I love him.
Yeah.
Galing, no? And then there's this guy.
Experience. That's the name of the podcast.
JRE, the Joe Rogan Experience.
The Joe Rogan Experience, correct. And then he was talking to this guy who used to be, what's his name? I keep on forgetting what his name is. But he's an old guy. He's like in his 70s, very smart. Um, and he authored some books. And he started off like he actually became a physicist at the age of 12. Tapos, and his history is his background is he actually he started talking to deans of physics departments of Caltech when he was 14 years old, and he would discuss quantum physics. Ganun siya ka-expert. And one of the conversations in one of the conversations they had in that episode, I found really interesting because the guy was talking about how interconnected people are. Everything that is living has a connection with each other. And
Yeah.
basically, this guy used the example of a beehive, a colony of bees as an example of how human beings are. 95% now of human beings are conformists. Do you believe that? Kumbaga, we just follow whatever other people tell us to do. Diba? Our lives are based on conforming to society, to the dictates of society. And pinaka-profound thing about that conversation was, sabi nga niya, one thing, people tend to think that if you are isolated from the world, that you are isolated. But the fact is, like Descartes, are you familiar with Descartes? I'm sure si Attorney Jong is. Si Descartes is a famous, is he a philosopher or a psychologist? Attorney Jong, do you still remember Descartes? And sa philosophy ba?
Sa philosophy, yeah, I heard him in philosophy class.
Yun, si Descartes.
He's a philosopher, right?
Yeah, he said the famous line, I think, therefore I am.
Yun, no? Si Alric, kahukom, ang bilis sa comment. So, I think, therefore, I am. Tatalino talaga ng viewers natin.
Oo, matalino talaga yung mga viewers natin. Alam na alam nila yan. And then he said something about that. Kasi Descartes, he isolated himself, no? But yung yung backstory kasi ng when Descartes decided to isolate himself so that he can come up with sort of like everybody, all the scientists kasi are always thinking of a unified theory on everything. They're trying to come up with concepts and theories on how to put things together. And then si Descartes daw decided to isolate himself so he can think better. But the whole time naman daw, he was sorry, Celine, pardon the French, but he was fucking the the cleaning lady in the hotel that he stayed in. Tapos he was so marami rin siya mga ginawang mga kalokohan dun sa hotel na yun while he was coming up with these ideas where he actually came up with that line, I think therefore I am. So in other words, people tend to affect other people, and there's no way of going around that. And the same thing with social media. The reason why I'm telling you this story is because in social media, that's what's happening. Whatever you say there will affect people that you care about, people who support your ideas, and also the people who oppose it. And either way, it can be both positive and negative. So when you do something negative like dissing other people, calling them names, calling them bobo, tanga, that's going to have a reverberating effect on the people you diss, and they will turn this energy into something more negative than what you're doing. That's why there is like a whole parang clash of ideas on social media ever since the president was voted in 2016. It's become intense now that he's on its fourth year of the presidency. Attorney Jong, we're talking about si Leni Robredo, yung speech the other day, which got a lot of flack. At the same time, merong syempre kanya mga yung support base niya are trying to parang
Yun ang may plano. I read that.
Ha? Ano?
Yun daw ang may plano. Yung speech na yun.
Okay. Sige, Attorney
Yun daw
Jong.
ang may plano. I saw that in shared by one of our friends. He has a group chat also with the Dilawan. No? So, yun daw yung speech na may plano for them.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Well, what they were saying, diba, Ron, is that they're comparing it. Sabi, buti pa si Vice President, she came across very well and very formal and whatever. And they have a plan for COVID, not like si Duterte and their administration, wala daw plan. But makita mo naman like si Attorney Tom and everybody today in their Facebook, they were sharing it that there's been a plan for a while now, ever since I think March pa nga, diba? There's a whole roadmap and type thing, but obviously they don't talk about it as much. But the thing is like some people will be happy, some people will be not. Kasi siyempre kung pro Leni ka, doon ka talaga happy ka, makita mo si Leni. Kung pro Duterte ka, bad trip ka kasi why is she doing that? Why is she looking, parang ano lang yan. Like sabi mo kanina Ron, tama yung tanong dyan is the timing, no? Yun yung issue ko dyan is the timing. It's saka, why does it need to be? This is why the whole point of the vice presidency is lost on me. Because imagine if you had a job. Let's say, you both went for a job. You and your colleague, Ron. You went for a promotion. You got it. The other guy didn't get that job, but he still works there with you. And the whole time you're doing that job, all that guy does is tell everybody how shit you are and how horrible you are. Instead of finding ways to work together and build a company and get promoted yourself, this person is just there to tell you day to day of how you're screwing up your job. Because they want your job, diba? It's obvious naman because that's all that they want your job. I'm not saying she's not good or what. I'm just saying that the vice presidency as a whole, not just her. It's just that whole point of it na pwede kayo magkalaban na party na if you oust one, then you're natural in succession, diba? Parang labo ng ganun na setup, kaya nababaliw ako dyan eh. The whole 6 years is that person just sitting next to you telling everybody, I hate this guy, he sucks, I can't wait to take his job. Parang mali naman.
Here's my take, Jan Michele. I think it's not really the vice president coming up with all these.
There's people behind her, but it doesn't matter. She would still be the one who could take it. Diba? But
diba, she started on the wrong foot. I remember this was like a year into the presidency of President Duterte. She went up to was it the United Nations Council ba, Attorney Jong? Yung sinabi niya na 15 or 10,000 people have died from extrajudicial EJK.
When she apparently made a speech I think before, I don't think it was UN, but it's one international organization.
Parang in-interview parang Amnesty yata yun, Amnesty International.
And meron siyang speech on the extrajudicial killings, EJK, no? So
doon pa lang medyo bad juju na yun eh, parang parang si VP pumuporma na. And alam mo naman na hindi naman siya nag-isip na gawin yun. Meron siyang talagang PR team or there are powers behind the vice presidency telling her what to do. I mean, that's my I
think you're right.
If you notice, si Leni is now positioned as nanay, no? Si PRRD is tatay, si Leni is now positioned as nanay. Na kung brusko si tatay, si nanay maawain. Si nanay, maalalahanin.
Attorney Jong, diba, like for me, ang missed opportunity here, it's like, kuwari nga, Duterte is like that, he's more rough, and Leni is the more refined version. Or she comes across better. What I would have dreamed of in the ideal world is that they work together and, correct each other and support each other for the betterment of the Philippines. No? Kumbaga, alam natin si Leni magaling mag-speech, or she comes across, she can be used to. If they are just coming from the same area, no, and same intentions, mas okay sana eh. Kasi you can complement each other. Pero yung isa is more pangontra lang just so that they can look bad and take the place. Alam mo yun, parang mali eh. So sana lang.
Agree.
Diba, like, if I had an assistant manager with me in Auntie Anne's, and if all that guy did was just murder me every day in the media, it's highly unlikely, one, that I'll promote him, but it won't benefit the company in the long run, diba? Kasi nga, you have to be unified. I mean, it's good to be critical and have suggestions, but constructive, diba? Yung, maybe we can do this, we can work together, ganyan. Hindi yung, alam mo yun, nagpe-presscon ka lang para laitin yung isa, then you go out in international media to say horrible things about the government that you are supposed to be working for. I don't understand how that works, diba? Parang, I'm the vice president of the Philippines, but I'm here now to tell you how horrible the Philippines is because I have nothing to do with it. It's all Duterte. Parang mali naman yun, di ba? That's why I think that the system has to change that way. That's why it's a constitutional reform or whatever. That whole vice president from a different party has to change because they're just waiting. Alam mo din sa Pilipinas, di ba? Sinabi natin last discussion natin, Ron, is kailangan people power, people power. Pag ayaw ko na, tatanggalin ko yan. Siyempre, sino nakahintay? Yung vice president.
Yeah, I feel
but the vice president kasi natin, constitutionally, should just be a spare tire. No? Yun talaga yung role niya. Ang role niya is to keep herself healthy, to keep herself fit, because her primary obligation is to succeed. Kaya nga, di ba, ang laging sinasabi, the vice president is a heartbeat away from the presidency.
Correct.
So, yan lang talaga yung trabaho niya. So, in fact, the vice president niya is encouraged not to be exposed, no? Not to be exposed, not to participate in government affairs kasi talagang significant lang siya in the event that the president resigns, the president is incapacitated, the president is dead. Yun lang yung kanyang pinaka-obligation dapat sa while sitting into that office.
Sayang, dapat they find something better for her to do and be more productive and be part of the team. I know they tried, diba? They gave her certain positions.
Oh yeah, that's happening
for whatever reason. But
that's
again, my gripe is not so much with Leni and her support. It's just really for me the system as a whole. No? Parang mali talaga yung sistema na ganyan na everyday ka na siraan ng number 2 mo.
Good thing you mentioned that, Miguel, kasi kami ni Attorney Jong, we've had discussions about, changing the constitution. Obviously, si Attorney Jong is very hesitant in doing so. One of the provisions that we want to change definitely is the vice president and the president belonging to different parties. Celine,
I agree.
I mean, you coming from a neutral standpoint, do you think it's healthy to have a president and a vice president from different parties, given the situation that we are in right now?
I don't want to take any sides. I don't think it's a matter of who's in what side or what, because at the end of the day, regardless of what party you're coming from, you should still be serving the country. And it would be the best scenario if they both work together and support each other in the plans, instead of fighting.
Correct.
I mean,
100% correct.
If I can share my opinion on the situation, I think there's fault in both sides. On one side, maybe the way she said it and the timing is off. But at the same time, I feel like the other side naman, they're defensive. They're super defensive. Na parang, I think, instead of criticizing, another way of handling it is say, okay, thank you for the suggestions, let's work on it. Diba? Parang, you get what you give. I think on both sides.
It's funny that it actually happened that way, the way you described it, Celine. When she was proposing ideas to the IATF, she was actually asked to be part of the IATF. And then kaso lang, when she presented stuff that the IATF already was doing, and they felt that she was just impeding the function of the IATF. And it's quite obvious in the yung kanyang the actions that the vice president has taken over the years only shows na parang there's a narrative that she is projecting out there, na she is a better alternative, parang she's her and then kaya nga naririnig mo parate, parating nila bukang bibig, si presidente may sakit, si presidente is dying,
patay na nga daw, biglang namatay na. Di ba? So ilang beses na ako sinabi na patay na daw siya this week, last week patay, ewan ko ba.
Let me read some messages here. Si Susie Nao, kahit naman siguro si chairman, kung epal yung kagawad niya, hindi matutuwa si chairman. Kulang talaga sa respect si Mema Leni. And then si Sally Costales, what kind of VP who maligns her own country? Yeah,
No,
medyo...
that's so true, Ron. That's why nga sabi ko, I agree with what you and Attorney Jong are saying, na kailangan the president and the vice president come from the same party, ideally. Because, I mean, I get the whole checks and balances side na kailangan meron talagang, so parang they can't get away with it. But if, like Attorney Jong said, that the vice president is really just there to wait, no, and to succeed. So dapat they should be from the same party, because para kung anong ginagawa ni president, kuwari namatay siya suddenly for whatever reason, the vice president can just continue that good work. That president was voted by a majority of people, diba? Sabi mo now, si President Duterte was voted by 16 million people. If he dies suddenly and all of a sudden, let's say now because we're so divided, Leni takes over. Imagine the unrest. Imagine the anger that there will be from so many people. And that, that should be corrected for the future. Like in the States, diba? Whether you like Pence and Trump or not, doesn't matter, because they're coming from the same place. So when they go abroad, when they go to the United Nations, one doesn't discredit the other. Diba? Ang mahirap din is you have a vice president who's going out in the world telling the world how horrible we are. She might be correct. She might be not, but
she might be the first ever vice president who's done that in the history of politics.
But again, she's within her rights to do it. That's the thing. The way the current system is, that she can. I mean, there's nothing stopping her from doing it. It's bad form, obviously. But kailangan baguhin talaga nga yung sistema, because it's just malila. For me, it just leaves a bad taste na instead of working together, they're just, one is always looking over her shoulder because this girl just wants my job. Diba? It's such a difficult position. Parang I don't understand why it has to be that way.
We'll go back to the
I heard some discussion on the vice presidency before na ideally daw, the vice president is appointed as the Secretary of Foreign Affairs. I think that was practiced during the time of Cory, when they were still in good terms with Vice President Laurel, with Doy Laurel. He was appointed as the Secretary of Foreign Affairs. And I think some other presidents also, before Marcos, that was also done. Na the Foreign Affairs Department is given to the Vice President. Which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
but
busy siya, may magagawa siya matino, then she can't go out making us look bad.
Si Ramos, when he became president, Erap was the vice president, right? And he was given
anti-crime naman.
Anti-crime naman, ACC. Binigay sa kanya. Tapos si Binay, when he became vice president to Pinoy, he was
housing czar.
Housing, no?
Housing czar, yeah.
Housing.
Then when Erap was the president, GMA naman became the Trade and Industry Secretary.
Oh, there you go. So may role talaga yung vice president, or for our current system, there is an option for the president to appoint the vice president to a particular role. Not in this case, because nagsa-self-sabotage rin yung si VP in the last 4 years. He was given initially a position, di ba, sa DSWD before. Was it this DSWD? Hindi pala, sorry. Sa housing rin yata yun, urban development ba yun, Attorney Jong? Parang HUDC.
I don't recall what was given to what was. I don't think she was offered any position.
Initially, Attorney Jong, I think she was. Kaso wala. Nothing.
Baka sabihin niya yung mga binigay sa kanya na position were not substantial naman, so whatever. Whereas kung ara DFA or Foreign Affairs or whatnot, mas importante yun, di ba? To keep you busy.
Housing? I mean, helping the poor to get.
Sabi ni Sally, housing.
Ayun, housing nga eh. Anyway, we want to connect the topic because lahat naman yan interconnected, no? And let me kick it off with the Facebook users message here. I think they are trying to provoke Duterte to impose the revolutionary government so they can file a constitutional something against constitution or constitutional violation against Duterte.
Violation of the Constitution siguro. Ibig sabihin yan.
So, is it tantamount to inciting sedition, Attorney Jong? This has been discussed in the press lately. Yung ginagawa ng Mayor Duterte's what's this group again? This civic society organization that's been supportive of the president. They have spearheaded a movement, and they want to form a revolutionary government.
I think kulang. Let me check on the. I'm not a crime lawyer, but I think kulang yung elements ng inciting to sedition. If I based on my recollection lang parang kulang. I think inciting to sedition there must be an overt act done publicly.
Right.
And I don't think that there is an overt act done publicly because they were writing, no? They were like they wrote sa kay Chief PNP. They were just inviting. Parang nagko-compa lang sila. Anong tawag nito? Nag-organize pa lang sila ng sarili nila.
Tapos gumagawa sila ng consultation with leaders of the agencies.
Yeah, but that's so distorted, no? That's so distorted. You asking for a revolutionary government, and you're asking the current president to sit on that revolutionary government. It really does not make sense because that is tantamount to an admission by the president that he is not in control of government. And
well,
who is the president that will admit, no? That will admit that he is not in control of government.
I think we come from a place where they feel that the president supports such initiatives because it's been very hard for the president to really have wholesale changes or reforms. It's been very frustrating. Tapos they think that this is the solution to that. Since hindi mo naman, kasi 4 na taon na natin pinapag-usapan ang customs, bago lang binatikos na naman ni presidente ang BOC because of corruption, and then you have like the PhilHealth issue happening right now. It's a mafia pala ang nagpapatakbo noon. It's talagang hindi lang this administration, you can go all the way back to the late 90s, Attorney Joe. Yung mga kalokohan dyan sa mga ibang ahensya.
Yeah, but the president in our setting, in Philippine setting, you're the most powerful guy. Whatever is being taught in political science, in law school, about check and balance, about the 3 independent branches of government in the Philippines. I firmly believe president makes a Senate president, the president makes a Speaker of the House, the president makes a Chief Justice. Yan pa lang. That's your power. Kaya nga, 'di ba? Ako during the past administration, I always liken that administration into a student council. Kasi for me, parang they still would like to be street parliamentarians even though they are already in power. They are already sitting in power. I think you just have to exercise your power. And I think our president, the current president, has been exercising that power efficiently, effectively. No, if there is lang something scary about it is the enlistment of a lot of former military guys surrounding his cabinet. No, that's something na medyo scary for people, no, for people na. In fact, this is the first time na DSWD, I think for the longest time, this is the first time DSWD is headed by a male and a military man, the former army chief, no?
What do you think the president's explanation to why he has former military men running certain agencies? His basic premise is that he chose military men because they follow orders. Like I can definitely say that's true with General Año. When he became DILG secretary, all he's been doing up to now until he got sick was follow the orders of Malacanang on how to go about the LGUs and how to help them, how to help their respective communities. And I think that's the currency that the military has, that president is using right now. Their loyalty and they follow orders. They're not. Diba? If the president says, "This is what I want, this is what you do," and that's exactly what they've been doing. They're very professional. What's your take on that, Celine? As a neutral.
Hmm. Well, I can certainly see how the president is exercising his power. That I can also see as a neutral person. Sometimes I feel a little bit uncomfortable, to be honest, because, of course, with great power comes great responsibility, and I just feel like there are a lot of things that are also very controversial, that I feel like sometimes is questionable. But it's just, I just hope people would work together more. Like you said, if they think, if having military men as leaders of these agencies help in supporting the government and the betterment of our country, why not? I'm for that. But also, like the question on human rights and all these things, are these protected, diba? Are the poor people being cared for? Like all these things that are very important to the Filipinos. I mean, beyond politics, it's more of like, how is it affecting the people? Yun
Right.
lang.
Okay, we get you,
And
Celine.
yeah.
That represents a slice of our demographic. Yung mga tao na medyo yung pananaw nila is, it's both ways. Si Mikael ganun rin kahit pa paano. He wants to support the administration, obviously, because it's the one we have, and you don't want it to fail. But at the same time, you are not blinded by um, your support for the administration. You also have constructive criticism. Also, you reserve that for in the cases where they fail to address certain issues. That's fine.
Yeah.
And I think the problem with that is we should have more people like you, na who, if you can't be totally supportive of the president, from for better or worse, then might be at least constructive of your criticism when you do say that on social media and whatnot. The military aspect, Celine, obviously you can't help you can't help but admit that the bad press that we've been getting internationally has affected you. You were working in Singapore before, right? For what, 5 years you were in Singapore, and obviously whatever press came out from the Philippines was through international um, sources. And if you look at the way they projected the Philippines, there are a lot of liberal media that's been projecting the Philippines to be, hard pressed, having trouble with human rights issues, because that's what you want to project. One thing that are not discussed and that enough on internationally or in that type of forum is that we have a very unique situation in the Philippines. We have about, correct me, Attorney Jong, if I'm wrong, 80% of our population are still in the poverty level, Attorney Jong, no? And about 20,
Parang, yeah,
parang ganun, no? And
parang
then,
ganun.
so you expect, if you have that many people who are in the poverty level, yung kanilang understanding of the laws and social morals are not as high as you, Miss Aline and Mikael here, or even us here in having this discussion. For them, it's all about survival. And sometimes the president, when he speaks, it's all, you can hear in his tone that he's very direct and he's very, kumbaga, talagang walang bahid ng pamumulitika, puro talagang gago ka, or he's gonna say it in your face. And he does it no matter what media he's facing. It's international or national or our own local media. Sasabihin talaga, mumurahin niya. And he's been heard for countless times using the P word on these press conferences. So obviously,
So I mean,
what
that's
he will
why.
decide is this president is
Go,
yeah,
Celine.
that's why he speaks that way, because he's communicating to, diba, communicating to a large number of our population who will not pay attention to the likes of Leni Robredo, na puro puro pabango lang yung mga sinasabi. You understand that it's all like planned speech, and it's all like measured, lahat ng pinagsasabi. They want somebody authentic. That's why when he speaks, kaya nga ito ang hindi nila naiintindihan eh. If they were smart enough, they would actually try to get the psychological aspect of where the president is coming from, and kung ano yung kanyang approach, because he's a very smart politician. He understands his audience. If they actually took some time to study him, they will know.
Nawala na yung bagong magandang internet ni Ron na naman.
Oh, ano nangyari?
Yung technical difficulty si Ron.
Yeah.
Bago pa naman yung technology niyan today.
To his point, I actually agree that in terms of communication, the president can really level with the people, and that's one of the things that are really commendable about him. That he's able to speak to them, and that's why people are very respectful and appreciate him, because they feel like he empathizes with them.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. I mean, the thing is, people sometimes I'm not condoning, like, ako personally, I don't like it when he talks that way, na nagmumura or whatever on TV, but I get it. But sometimes kasi people mistake na, magaling to mag-speech, magaling magsalita, very calm, as a good politician or a good leader, no? I mean, magaling ako mambola, but doesn't mean I'm a good leader, no? So sometimes kasi the people are so mad at Duterte because they say, this guy was horrible, potty mouth, whatever, he can't possibly be our leader, whereas Leni, from where they're standing, is a much more presentable option, which is probably correct from their standpoint. Nobody's saying it's wrong or right, no? It's just a different approach, one that we're not used to. Pero madami na tayong naging leaders before na ang galing-galing magsalita, pero pagdating sa execution, walang kwenta din, diba? So again, we have to base it on what they can do, on what they actually accomplish in the government. May mga nagko-comment na dito. Ayoko ulitin yung mga comment nyo, baka may magalit sa akin. But yun na nga, so sometimes we just get blinded by this. Again, like I said, I'd prefer that he didn't say bad words, or he came across better, but I don't necessarily think that's a reason for me to think he's not a good leader as such. Because like I said, there's so many other ways. But anyway, what we need here talaga is more, is an understanding that, there are good points on both sides. Diba? Ron, yung bago mong internet, anong nangyari?
Sorry guys, merong loko-loko na nag-reset na modem yata eh. Kasi pagtingin ko, bakit nakapula yung mesh? Ay, nako, kala ko
Hindi pa naman namin internet mo.
Believe na nga si Leni.
Sabi, Ron, may mga nag-comment dito, sabotahe daw. Nagalit na sa atin yung Facebook. Linahit si Zuckerberg kanina. Yan, tuloy. Na-censor tayo.
Hindi, pero yung point ko lang, mga kaibigan, no, ang presidente natin, ginagawa niya yung mga ginagawa niya for a reason. Hindi lang dahil gusto niyang magmura. Hindi lang dahil gusto niyang manglait ng tao o gusto lang niya mang-away. He just feels that the mode that needs to be used when it comes to certain groups of people ay dapat talagang diretso. Kasi ang problema sa Pilipino, pag hindi mo diniretso, gagawin nila yung gusto nilang gawin. 'Di ba?
But Ron, I just would like to point out one thing, no. I think instead of justifying the acts of the president, I think it would be better if even his cabinet people, no, will say, well, yan talaga siya. Yan talaga si presidente. Nung nasa Davao pa siya, nung meron siyang TV show sa Davao, talagang ganyan siya makipag-usap. Yan na talaga siya na pagkatao. Hindi siya sanay mag-sugarcoat, hindi siya sanay
Tama.
maging formal. Yan na talaga siya na tao. Pero it does not mean na dahil nagmumura nga siya, kasi ang sinasabi kasi, pwede namang iwasan eh. Oo nga, pwede ngang iwasan. Pero yan na siya eh. Yan na siya na tao. 75 years old na itong taong to. So,
Attorney Jong, I mean, 100% again, one thing we have to remember, the reason he won is people wanted that kind of guy. Whether we agree with it or not, no? Whether, diba, 16 million people voted for that kind of talking and that kind of personality. Whether we think that's a good or not doesn't matter. They voted for it. They felt that they could connect with this guy. This is a change they wanted. And I think the other people have to learn to respect that. No? Na ito yung gusto nila, ito yung binoto, give it a chance, no? This is democracy at work. Whether you like, ang mahirap dito is madaming nagagalit, sinasabi kasi itong mga bobo to, binoto si Duterte, ang daming bobo. That's not fair because democracy was at work. This is what you fight for. It just so happened that the guy who won is not super clean-clad, well-spoken, and it's not the guy you voted for, but that's the guy who they voted for. And he's not gonna change. Ang mahirap niyan is if kung wari, ganyan yung style ni Duterte na magmumura ganyan, tapos nanalo siyang presidente, biglang he all of a sudden changes na super ganyan. Siyempre, he'll alienate the people who supported him in the first place.
Because,
diba?
because
But yun na yung pinapoint out ko naman, yung mga government, yung mga cabinet people na nakapaligid sa kanya, na defending. Parang dinidefend pa yung kanyang sinasabi. Why do you belabor on defending the president? You just have to say that's his style. That's just have to accept it. And yan siya. Don't justify like because there are instances especially COVID matters. There are COVID matters na our honorable press secretary or spokesperson would say things, no? And later on will be contradicted by the president and he will be put in a tight situation. I think that happens because there is an instinct on his part to defend the statements of the president, which I don't think should be done. You let the president speak and let it be as raw an information as possible and make it available to the public. Ganun lang yun.
I don't know. I can't really say that. Maybe the word would be medyo reactive. Meron tayong mga kasamahan sa gobyerno na reactive sa lahat ng sinasabi ng press. But I just believe that, you know what, para tayong binibait kasi parati ng opposition eh. They understand the nature of the president. They understand that the president is, he's no bullshit. And he's going to say whatever he wants to say without thinking about, how people will receive it. And itong opposition, they're pandering, their support base. O tingnan nyo, yung presidente, walang sinasabing may sense. Ito ganyan, ginagamit nila yung mga sound bites na yun to really, strengthen their position as far as their opinion about the president and how he does things. Yun lang ang problema, sad thing about John Attorney Jong, Mikel, and Celine. Because that's how they look at things and they refuse to understand where the president is coming from. If you really think about it, kahit na the neutral, ikaw Celine, for example, let me just explain to you where the president is coming from. You cannot base everything on what you read or what you or what people's opinions about him are based on what he says on the media. Because what he says on the media, he does it because he is talking to a certain group of people. Matagal na yun in-explain ng mga tao, even the ones who are privy of how the president is. They've been telling them, ganyan naman ang ginagawa niya sa Davao talaga. You have to understand how he was as a mayor in Davao City. Davao City, Attorney John can attest, was kumbaga parang western yan eh. Talagang siya, the wild wild south, kumbaga, o the wild wild west ang Davao City doon. Nakakatakot, di ba, Attorney John? May yung uso pa yung Alex Bungkayo Brigade, marami pang NPA sa Davao, daming pinapatay na pulis sa kalsada.
Peace and
diba?
order was an issue in Davao at the time, and I would like to credit it to the leadership of then Mayor Duterte, that he was really able to suppress the aggression at the time. And I, for one, my residence was in NPA infested area of Davao City, so we were really terrorized at that time. So, and I give a lot of credit to Mayor Duterte's leadership for 5 years. 5 years yan since he assumed office, na talagang slowly but surely he was able to keep the peace, to really suppress all these aggressions, this unlawfulness in Davao City at the time. And after that, it was just really peaceful. It was really peaceful in such a way that it's really safe to walk at night.
Actually, Attorney Jong, when I nakwento ko na to dati, but I'd never been to Davao in all my life, except when in 2013 I went because we were gonna open 2 stores sa Davao. And nagulat talaga ako. I was blown away kasi nga yung mga narinig ko na story about Davao before was ganyan. Tapos, ang daming gulo-gulo. But when I got there, I was amazed. Nag-taxi lang ako. The taxi drivers were so honest. Yung tipong they'll stop another taxi to get yung thermal paper para sa receipts, or kung wala silang panuklet. Sa Manila, walang ganyan eh. And the streets were clean. And when I was talking to the people there, kwento nila sa akin kung ano yung mga benefits nila from living in Davao. It was like I was blown away. Parang sabi ko, parang it's not even the Philippines, and it was so nice. So nagulat ako, and then talagang makita mo na mahal talaga ng mga taga Davao yung mayor nila and the family there and whatnot, no? So again, this goes back to decide he won the election for a particular reason. Again, whether you like it or not, it's not up to you. There was a democratic election, undisputed. Yung president part was undisputed. There was it wasn't even like a close call. Diba? So he won, and whoever it is that lost, you can be critical, you can want your person to go back, but your time will come.
Yeah.
Diba?
You just have to wait.
That's how we cannot just be yung system natin na ayaw natin ito, this is not our guy, let's people power this guy, let's oust every day, that's all we're going to do is oust. That's not how the democracy works. I get it na you're unhappy because every day I deal with people na ganyan, galit na galit, they want to get rid of him, he's such an asshole, ganyan. But it's the same as in America. Whether you like Trump or not, he won. Diba? Sadly, that's how democracy works. So we just have to learn to respect it and support it. Be critical, but like Ron said, constructive criticism naman, diba? If you're from the opposition party, you can be criticized. We need you there for checks and balances because we don't need the government to do whatever it is they want to do. Checks and balances are very important, but your motive should be right. Your motive should be talagang for the betterment of the Filipino. Yung mga mahihirap yung affected nito palagi. Every election, when somebody campaigns in the election, do they say, I'm gonna help the rich? Never. It's always yung poor. But every bloody election, the poor are still there and they're still poor. Diba? So parang dapat tayo mag-focus is finding ways to help the poor.
Ganito yan, Mikel, if people knew how to write on a ledger, parang it's like the pros and cons. I think people are familiar with such an exercise, diba? kumbaga kung sa notebook ba, ano yung positive tsaka ano yung negative sa mga ginawa ni Presidente. Ang problema sa oposisyon natin, puro negative lang ang sinusulat nila doon sa ledger na yon. Hindi
Well,
nila
Ron,
sinusulat
pag may kaaway akong ganyan sa friends ko, ang tinatanong ko sa kanila, ganito na lang, Ron, para madali. Kung ang nagsabi nitong whatever comes out of Duterte's mouth or the actions that he's proposing or the cabinet is proposing, if those words came out of Leni's mouth, would they support it?
Yeah.
Diba? Is that initiative something that they would support if it came from their side? No, that's how you know that it's something good for the country. Diba? Kasi it doesn't matter who said it. One of my favorite things before is you can achieve anything you want in this life as long as you don't mind who gets the credit. No? So, mahirap sa mga politicians natin. They want to be, ako yung nag-author nito, ako yung gumawa nito. Punyemas, mga basketball court nila, lalagyan nila ng pangalan nila every time they build something, di ba? Akala mo, sa kanila nanggaling yung pera. Because they have to show the world that it's from them, di ba? But if you truly care about your constituency, you truly care about your country, it doesn't matter who said it or who did it. It was done, the poor person is benefiting from it. But, sadly, kasi nga dun sa mga epal-epal, minsan kasi people vote because nga yung basketball court, nakalagay yung pangalan niya, no? Yan, di ba? But, those are the things. But if ikaw tunay ka na opposition party, if you have to also put your hand up and say sometime, actually, that's a good initiative. Kaya kong supportahan yan. I'm happy for that. Di ba? Hindi yung kukontra ka lang for the sake na kukontra ka lang. Kasi pag hindi ka kumontra, feeling mo hindi kayo mananalo sa next election, di ba? I mean, most of the initiatives that you see, di ba, somebody printed it all out, all of the good things that the Duterte administration has so far accomplished. And if you're really totally neutral, you can look at that and say, well, actually, fair enough. Ang daming mga okay dito na affects the poorer people. Even the OFWs, all the stuff that they've done. No? Even the fact that we can now get our driver's licenses with no problem, yung registration ng kotse mo, all of those things before na hindi mo man lang makuha, di ba? You can put your hand up and say, di ba? Alam mo, yung the other day we were saying,
free education,
free education. 911, all of these things. But the other day, yung announcement is now the escalators and elevators in the MRT are working. Oh my God! Imagine that we're celebrating that because before they couldn't even fix the bloody escalator and bumili pa tayo ng train. I mean, I work in the railway sa England. Pwede ako mag-comment dito. So bumili lang ng train, mali pa. So alam mo yun. So
yun ang hindi mo maintindihan.
Diba?
How could you buy bagong which are not communicating with the main software?
There's so many things, but like I said, going back is from a neutral standpoint. If you look at the list of paper and don't care who actually made it, you'll actually say, okay, this is good. You'll be hard pressed to say, no, that's nothing. Diba? Even the OFWs pa lang, you talk to the OFWs.
I talk to the OFW, and I actually really appreciate that what the president did for us. So, thank you.
For an OFW, it was so hard.
Nung time na, di ba, mahirap kasing sa immigration, yung like going in and out of the country, like that was a disaster. And like, ako from Singapore, you have to have this piece of paper that you have to buy from the embassy just so they'll let you in. So parang those things na parang the president actually streamlined and like he actioned on. So I really felt the difference when I came back. So even those little things that are like, for me, very impactful. And yes,
tama sila, diba? Because OFWs, we always say OFWs are the heart. They give so much to this country. They sacrifice. They send so much of their money. They're able to. But in all the previous administrations, they were given such a hard time. Everything was so difficult. My father had kasi a recruitment agency way back 80s and 90s, very early 90s, where they would send OFWs, and so we know how difficult it was. For POEA, all of those kinds of things before, just to be able to leave the hoops that these guys had to go through. But then in the news, you're like, OFWs are heroes, but we make it so hard for them. And that's one of the things, I mean, hopefully some of the people in our comments, kasi may mga nagko-comment dito ng mga OFW, they can say, like what Celine said, it's actually easier now, and you feel valued. even the OFWs coming home because of all the difficulties with COVID, ang linalabas lang nila sa news yung mga nakapila, kawawa, kawawa, kawawa. They don't talk about all the others that were repatriated back here safely, paid for by the government, taken care of, all of that. Nobody says, oh, good job for that, diba? Except for the OFWs who were affected. Because I've seen them comment. I've seen this.
They don't even consider, Mikel, Celine, how difficult it is for, let's say, 100 people to take care of 50,000 people who are coming in. Yung, akala ba ninyo na ganun lang kadali mag-handle ng ganun kadaming, yung influx of people coming in the airports and having to, coordinate, organize, they're going back to their respective areas or places, their homes. Hindi ganun kadali yun. And to think marami sa mga OFWs are happy about how it's been handled kasi they're staying in hotels for their quarantines. Diba? Tapos, maayos naman.
She was one of those people who got repatriated during this lockdown. So she had a good experience coming back. Yung testing, getting assigned to a hotel, having food, it was clean, everything was coordinated, and then, being moved from the hotel back to her home. So, it was a smooth experience for her because that was one of the things that she was afraid of coming back na, kasi if it's, oh no, it's government, baka, diba, low budget or whatever yung, bad experience, what is the common misconception. But thankfully, her experience was good. And like all the others that I knew after her who came back also had good experiences. So, I can't, like, these are things that I see that's been working and that the government has been doing such a great job with.
I share the frustration of Yusek Malaya kasi I remember bringing up to him some of the complaints, especially when they showed a picture or the press showed a picture of the number of people who were at the Rizal Memorial Coliseum, and then it parang it gained kumbaga it got showered with a bunch of criticism the way the government has been handling that. But unbeknownst to these people kasi on how that came about, most of the people who were stuck in Rizal Memorial Coliseum were actually staying under the bridges. As in, nobody told them na they gathered there, and then there's unscrupulous people telling them, uy, meron na daw mga flights pinapalipad na kahit na hindi totoo. Alam mo yon? So maraming nag-umasa na makakaalis sila during those days. And they ended up congregating under the bridge at wala silang tirahan at natutulog under the bridge. Ngayon itong media naman, napaka walang kwenta talaga kasi hindi nila pinapag-aralan kung ano yung situation at hindi nila inilalabas sa kanilang mga sa kanilang outlet, sa kanilang TV stations or sa kanilang reports na ganito ang sitwasyon. Sa kanila, pinapalabas nila as is. Tingnan mo, daming tao dito sa pinabayaan lang Tapos bigla na lang, ang gobyerno, siyempre, sabi ni President Duterte, ay, ano yan, attend to them. Considering that we're we're handling COVID pa, which is such a big thing, it's a big problem. And we have to deal with may term for, stranded individuals in the city who want to go home to the provinces. So they had them stay in Villamor, in Rizal Memorial, and they went through tests. But hindi lang nakikita yun, how difficult it is logistically to handle the problem. Sa kanila, daming tao, walang social distancing. Pero anong gusto mong gawin? Pabayaan lang sila doon. Bahala sila sa buhay nila. Ganon na lang ang gagawin natin. Yan ang kinakainis ng mga supporters ni Presidente, na puro lang sila batikos, pero they refuse to understand what is going on and why the president does what he does and why the government are doing these things.
Well, it would be sana if somebody from the government can clearly explain their side too.
Trabaho ni Ron yan.
If there is
Kasalanan ko pa ito, Michael. Ganon.
Communication lapses, yun lang yung di ba? Parang, okay, there's not enough recognition on like what the government is doing. That's because we don't know also, di ba? Like no one's
Well, it's a lot of it, Celine, is also drowned out kasi by all the criticism, all the fighting, and that's why it's so sad to see the news, because the news never reports good things. It's always just whatever it is that will get more headlines, and it's normally controversial. Because nga, people want more division, di ba? Gusto nila mag-away pa tayo more and more. Gusto nila mag-away yung Yellow, mag-away yung Duterte. Yun yung gusto nila eh. Ayaw nila magbati tayo na for the betterment of the Philippines. Bad trip yun.
Asan ba yung mga Team Philippines?
That adds to the engagement of their platforms. These news
talaga
outlets.
lahat ng explanations mo are good no, yun yung internal information na alam niyo about LSI, but really there was no information, no official statement from the government explaining why this happened. So I guess there's also failure of dissemination of information, no, from
Trabaho
government.
Attorney Jong, trabaho kasi nga ni Ron yan, tapos di niya ginagawa eh. Nawala tuloy na naman si Ron. Ron, may nag-reset na naman ng modem mo.
Ayan. Tingnan mo, Mikel. Yan tuloy nangyari.
No, I mean, but like, kasi doon sa point sa mga LSI, madami din. Kahit kami, nakita namin na outrage din kami. Like, ano tong, kasi if you just see it on your Viber group or on Facebook na ganun nagkagulo, syempre, as a human, you'll be like, oh no, what's this? Diba? Mali naman yon. But, you know, like, we can turn to Ron and other people and ask, remember, Attorney Jong, doon sa group, doon sa Viber, we can ask eh. Kasi diba, diba, may mga nagtatanong. But other people don't have that luxury. Sana nga the government gets better at although may mga like si Ron, 'di ba, sila Mon, tapos 'di ba the other government agencies, that's what they do, is they want to drown out all of the negative stuff and release all good information of what's been accomplished, and they are doing that, in fairness to them, Celine. It's just that they're drowned out by so much noise because every day parang they're having to fight a new fire of something na sisiraan sila or there's a criticism about this. So, like the PCO, all of these people, they cannot just do these things of releasing all the good news. It's such I couldn't do the job, honestly. If you ask me, mabuburat lang talaga ako kasi every day parang may bago na naman binabato sa'yo. I guess that comes with the territory.
Michael, I have an explanation to that though. I know people would like to blame the PCOO, but here's the caveat. This is the limitation that the PCOO has. It's not a propaganda machine. That's the before in the previous administration was is and you know why there have been instances push for they can use the resources to just combat all the negative press that they've been getting and probably pressure the media companies, but they don't, because you know why? The president doesn't really care about what he thinks.
But the citizens do, Ron. The citizens
yeah, I know.
do. Even if the president doesn't care, dapat merong informed citizenry, di ba? We should be properly informed. Yun ang,
but
I think that is the whole point, no? Yung Filipinos should be squarely informed of what is really going on. And hindi pwedeng na walang pakialam si presidente na binabatikos yung gobyerno niya. Hindi kasi pwedeng, pero mali naman pala yung batikos. Kailangan i-correct, di ba? Kasi yun yung tama eh.
If there's one good example of like good communication coming from the government, I can share what the DOH has been doing. Like they have been participating in the Viber communities, diba? They're using social media, and they are producing wonderful graphics on like what is the truth, like what is the correct information, and how to spot fake news. I think that approach is wonderful. and if other agencies can also adapt a similar approach, so that to benefit the people and help the people be smart with what they're seeing online.
I get you.
Pero Ron,
Just
magaling naman sila Mon. Dun sa PCO, they're doing a good job. Like I see the Facebook, but it's like they're constantly having to fight fake news and whatnot. Medyo bagulo talaga, no?
yun nga, if you notice, wala namang it's not, no one's blowing up smoke up their asses sa PCOO. They're just reacting to whatever it is that the other side is is spewing, and most of them are lies. Most of them are bullshit.
Well,
So
that's why they should just stick to their facts and say, here, these are the good things we're doing, and then let people be the judge, diba? But they have to keep coming out with the good news. But really, the best people to talk about the good news is kuwari, the OFWs who did benefit from the good, like ako, I heard like what Celine said, my friends who were repatriated or came back, lahat sila favorable yung experience sila coming back into the Philippines considering may pandemic. Those are the people that, because if it's coming from the government, a lot of people just say, oh, propaganda, whatever. They'll never say anything bad. But it's really the people who vote and the people who have been affected that can go around and spread the good news. It's the same as a business. If somebody eats sa Antians and they're a happy customer, that's the best customer. That's the best advertising, is when they go around telling everybody na they're happy, diba? So, yun na lang. But it's just, siguro nga, maybe the government can just, there's a lot of good news out there. There's a lot.
Yeah.
But it just gets drowned out and by people's
remember-
bias. Yeah, go,
I
turn
think
down.
it's also, no one is also focusing like from the government then, in nga, saying the good news. They're, syempre,
Yeah.
the media and
And-
whatever, it's always in
meron
their favor to say something controversial and point out
Hindi.
the ugly stuff.
Tapos, ang mahirap dyan sila, like, kuwari, sometimes you post something on Facebook na good news, biglang all of a sudden, oh, Duterte ka, ganyan. It's like, oh my God. Like even now, if people watching this, I have friends who'll be watching this saying, oh, this Mikel is just pro-Duterte, doesn't matter. No, that's not how I operate. You should know that, diba? It's just, we're pro-Filipino nga, diba? Yun yung mahirap dito. Lalaitin ko, good news nga. Diba? It's something that benefits the OFWs, benefits most poor Filipinos. Like things like universal healthcare, free education. Ano sabihin ko, wow, that's horrible. That guy has a horrible reputation for human rights. And the thing is, the other thing I cannot support also, and sorry, Ron, I have to say this here, is in the foreign press, in my relatives abroad and all that, they call me and say, what's happening in the Philippines? Ang gulo dyan, you're all dying, you're all being shot in the street, mistaken identity, lahat kayo na pagkamalang drug addict, and you're all being murdered. And I'm walking around saying, I don't know, I'm not seeing it. I'm sure there are some, but we're all here. I mean, prior to COVID coming, we're all living free, having the time of our lives. The economy was flying. We were all playing football. And people will say, oh, because you're rich, hindi ka affected by the poor. We talk to our employees in Antians. I asked them, are you guys affected in your areas? Mas safe pa nga daw. And,
Exactly.
they're saying to me, so I'm wondering lang, parang, ang hirap naman ito, like, we're being portrayed in the world as an horrible, I mean, I'm not saying there are no bad things happening here, no, but if from foreign media, ang nakikita lang nila is this guy, he's a dictator, he's a tyrant, he's stopping everything. But then, it's the same as like Rappler saying, my freedom of speech or expression is being suppressed, while they're typing day in, day out, all sorts of bullshit that they peddle out into the world. Diba?
Bira ng bira, no?
Diba, every day,
Criticize.
they're still there. They're still printing freely whatever they want to print, whether it's right or wrong. But you cannot say, I am being suppressed if you're still allowed to do what you want to do. Then us naman on Facebook saying, oh, my anti-terror bill will not allow me to say what I want to say on Facebook. Have you seen the stuff that comes out on Facebook? Nobody stopped that. If anything, I'm praying somebody stops us from all this crap we're all guilty of, diba?
And
Yeah,
the anti-terrorism bill, if you'd notice, I think there are about 19 to 22 cases filed, no? Petitions to declare it unconstitutional. You know what? To my mind, that is very telling, because everybody is hungry for recognition. These groups, they just want to be recognized. It's not really more of their concern. Because if you're gonna calculate it, mas lalong tatagal. All of you with prayer for TRO, but there are 19 different petitions. There are 20 different petitions, which the justices will be forced to read each petition. So how long will the process take before the justices can act on it? But
That's
if really it was really that terrifying, if there is really that urgency to suppress that law, then these people should have unite themselves and just, hey guys, let's file one petition. Never mind the recognition. Pero hindi eh. Hindi ganun. So that's how these people, these so-called activists, 'di ba? Are protecting the democracy.
true.
Parang-
Let me just respond. Attorney
may
Miguel,
comment.
let me just
Attorney Ron. Go, Ron.
respond to a message by a guy named Mikoy de la Fuente.
Kilala
He
ni
says,
Attorney
"But
Jong yan.
kilala ba?
Mikoy, yeah. Attorney Mikoy.
Sabi ni,
Ron,
I know
abogado. Ron, abogado ko yan.
ganun ba? Oh,
I
ayun
know
sa
him.
attorney. Sa pag-comment sabi niya, but they should also recognize the fact that a lot of the infrastructure projects being completed now are Pinoy approved projects. It would be good if credit is given to where credit is due. Attorney Mikoy, wala namang sa gobyerno ang hindi binibigyan ng credit yung ibang administration who initiated certain projects. I don't remember anybody saying that, a certain project was being claimed as Duterte's project. Everything is under the umbrella of build. As a matter of fact, some of the projects nakabinbin yan since GMA or even before that, including some of the the infrastructure that's been planned. Kaso hindi tinapos ni Pinoy, hindi ginawa. So it only in this government na talagang they really pushed for it. It became a main focus of the government to improve infrastructure because they feel it will generate income for the economy, revenue for the economy, and it will definitely help our GDP, and it will generate jobs. Okay, kaya meron tayong build. Wala namang nagki-claim na lahat. As a matter of fact, even during the elections pa, yung nagkakaroon ng may debates pa between the candidates, sabi ni Presidente, wala akong pakialam kung sino nagsimula niyan. Kung maganda yung idea ni gagawin natin. 'Di ba? Hindi, wala siyang unang-una, you have to consider this first, no. You know why the president won? You guys remember that iconic scene that was captured on social media? Then bigla he was on the map, bigla na lang he generated so much support on social media. When he was the first responders in he was one of the first responders in Yolanda in Tacloban. And he was filmed, he was speaking in Visayan, and he was parang he was really in distress talking about umiyak siya doon. And that's the reason why. And you know why he won? Because you know what? Even the way he did that, yung mga relief goods coming from Davao, did it read Mayor Duterte? No, from the city, from Davao City, from the city of Davao, because he's always been the type who doesn't want his name attached to anything that is being paid for by our taxpayers, because that's how it should be. And you people should understand that no one is doing any credit grabbing here. This president, that's not his style. As a matter of fact, he doesn't want to be associated with anything that's been done by the government. He doesn't want to be may ibang tao gusto i-extend ng kanyang term. Lalong-lalo na yung mga sa CONCOM, yung nag-draft ng federal form, yung federal draft. Part of the provision in the federal draft is to create a transitionary government which he will lead for 2 years after his term ends. You know what he said to the CONCOM members of Justice Puno? Tanggalin nyo yan, ayoko nyan. Okay? So yun yung mga bagay na dapat nyo maintindihan about the president. And one thing's for sure about him, he doesn't meddle with the business of Congress. Whatever the Congress does or the Senate does, he doesn't, impose himself on them. Alam nyo ba, kung ganun si Presidente, matagal na sana naging federal form of government tayo ngayon. Hanggang ngayon, we're still struggling in actually convincing our lawmakers to go for it, to make the amendments or just the plain amendments to the Constitution. Hirap na hirap kami. Bakit? Because the President doesn't want to impose on Congress. They want he wants them to decide for themselves whether or not this is the way to go. Napansin niyo yung last SONA last year? Kung ayaw niyo ng federalismo, kayo nang bahala. Basta importante baguhin niyo ang konstitusyon para makatulong kasi hindi na siya akma sa panahon ngayon. Yun ang kanyang mensahe. That's all I wanted to say, kasi paminsan kasi we lose track of the fact that this president talaga, he won because of his authenticity and his willingness to really, sacrifice his life so that for the betterment of the Filipino. That's the bottom line right there na hindi yata naintindihan nila.
Basta like I said, Ron, he won. There's nothing we can do. He won. Diba? He won by landslide.
Yeah, why is this even a discussion? Like, konti
Diba?
actually
But the thing is, so many people not so many people, but the other party just wants him out. They want him out, whatever. But, you have to bide your time. You have to strategize. You need to win the next election. You know what you have to do. But be productive.
One constitutional reform that I just want the powers of COA broadened.
Yon.
Because if you'd notice, and this is seldom discussed, no? If you will try to review the powers of COA has the power to audit, but it has no power to file cases because the filing of cases of their findings is left at the discretion of the ombudsman. I think that kind of structure is something flawed because if there is a finding of a particular office, like Commission on Audit, there are COA in all government offices. If there is a finding by that office and that office has enforcement power to prosecutorial power to file the case and hold the government official accountable, I think it would be easier to run after corrupt officials.
Pero Attorney Jong, baka gusto nila ganyan yung setup para nga walang magawa sa kanila pag nahuli sila. So walang incentive for those in those positions to give the COA and other agencies more teeth. Diba? I mean, how many times have we seen these mga investigations in aid of legislation and all of this? Nothing ever happens. It's all the same until we're distracted by the next crisis. Diba?
Yeah, yun ang hindi ko maintindihan eh. The COA kasi, they have findings, they have audit examination memorandum, di ba? They have this audit memorandum. So, when they flag you. So, meaning you have erred. You have to justify it. Then, if you cannot justify it because it's overpriced, there are no bidding, it's not an arm's length transaction, then dapat once that report is filed, somebody should act on it. The problem is COA has no prosecutorial function. It is left on the ombudsman. Sino ba ang magkaka-interest, di ba? Ang nagkaka-interest lang yung mga kalaban ng politiko. For example, gusto mong matalo si incumbent mayor, hahanap ka ng butas sa kanya na na-flag yung project ni mayor, papailan mo siya ng kaso para siya maging accountable. But it should not be politically motivated eh. If we're gonna clean up government, it has to be on neutral ground. COA as an independent body will audit the works of a mayor of any government agency. Then thereafter, they should be the one to pursue the prosecution of these corrupt officials. I think that would send more threat to government officials to refrain from stealing from government coffers.
Attorney Jong, yung mini-mention, yung sinasabi mo na parang loophole in our justice system or how things are in terms of
on public accountability, Ron.
Public accountability. Is this something that requires an amendment to a law, or you need to?
Yeah, because under our constitution, it's the ombudsman that is mandated to file cases against erring public officials. And COA's role is just to review and flag. That's it. So I think yun yung kulang.
Ayun. It only
I think
goes to
yun lang ang kailangan natin eh. Hindi na natin kailangan i-overhaul ang constitution. Ako, I'm not really a believer of federal form of government. I'm sorry. We have a very small country. So I really do not feel
Ako, Attorney John, pag marinig ka ni Orion.
Nako. Si Dumdum.
Nako.
Ang daming supporters ng correct
Dami
movement.
mga nanonood dito
sa
na
atin dito.
sa correct movement. Nako.
But that's
Kaibigan ko yan. Dormmate ko yun, si Dumdum.
Kaya, maganda naman, alam mo, kaya nga ini-invite ko si Attorney Jong dito because he offers a differing opinion on matters
that's why
that we discuss.
Tama yan, Ron. This is the thing. We have to learn to be able to take comments from all sides and then come up with the best possible idea. Huwag yung masyado tayong nakatutok lang. This is our way, only our way works. Everybody else is wrong. Then tayo sumasabit ngayon eh. There's so many good points from all sides. You just have to learn to take it, diba?
Agree.
Win-win situation. Think win-win.
Exactly. Diba? Like sabi nga ni Attorney Jong, it's just so many people want to take credit for certain things and come out in the news, so they'll just make contra or whatever, diba? But if we work together, imagine what we would achieve. Imagine.
Alam mo, it's funny if you simplify the message of this presidency is just do your job. Because the president obviously doesn't care much about the prestige or perpetuating power. It's quite obvious, but people's there are certain segments of our society or of the public, a very small percentage who don't want to see that. But if you really think about it, this is the message that you can clearly pick up from this presidency. Dapat lahat ng mga government officials ang pag-iisip ay yung totoong public service. Nandyan ka sa public service para serbisyohan ang publiko, hindi para magpayaman. Yun yung point dyan na nami-miss natin. And I think
Hindi ba pampayaman ng government? Oh man. I think a lot of people misunderstood that, Ron. Baka bigla wala nang tumakbo sa susunod na election, ha? Wala na
her district. Ha?
Nawala na, nag-choppy ka for a bit, pero okay na, you're back. Time out, nag-choppy ka na ulit.
Labo mo naman.
Sana may continuity, no? When we're talking of your structure, sana may continuity of program, no? From one administration to the other. Hindi yung I don't know if you've read or came across that project, that Belgian consortium that was supposed to clean the Laguna de Bay.
Yeah.
It was cancelled by Pinoy, no? By the administration of Pinoy, simply because it was a project of GMA, and we were held to arbitration, and we paid. No, I think we paid 2 billion in fines, 3 billion. Yeah, we did. We were slapped a fine of about 2-3 billion.
But that's the thing. There's a discussion, there's a debate here in the comments. Attorney Miko yung nanggugulo eh. Pero my point naman, no. We are so caught kasi minsan as which administration did what, but there's certain talagang projects na kuwari, you started towards the end of your administration and then it has to be carried over to the next. But again, it shouldn't matter who did it as long as it's done. Diba?
Yeah.
Correct.
Pera naman ng bayan yan eh. Hindi naman pera ni Duterte, di ba? Pera ni Pinoy, diba? So basta natapos, we should all be happy. Diba? Kung kuwari, bago na yung LRT or whatever it is, yay! Who cares who did it? I don't care. It's not their money anyway. We paid for this to happen. It's happened now. Happy. Diba? Ganun lang dapat eh. We shouldn't care. But we get...
It doesn't matter who gives the credit for finishing a project. Ang important, ang sa akin lang naman to argue Attorney Mikoy's point about it's not just because of this administration. That's not even the point there. I think you should give the administration credit also for the fact that they tried their best to finish everything in this administration and not waited any longer, and didn't base their decisions on the fact that this was started by another administration. The problem kasi with kaya nga sabi ni Attorney Jong, problema sa ating mga pag every 6 years, merong iba-iba yung agenda ng administration. And if it's started by another administration, they tend to shelve that. Kasi
that's why it shouldn't happen that way.
projects na unahin, diba?
Yeah,
that's
totoo
why
yan.
well, hindi lang minsan for the credit, minsan kasi sa pera din Mag-aaway-aaway, hindi kasi sila kumita dun sa bagong kontrata or whatever,
Exactly.
di ba? Nangyari yan. In certain even sa mga at LGU level, di ba? Pag pumapasok si mayor, titigil na yan kasi hindi siya nakabigyan ng porsyento dun sa bagong na yan, di ba? Alam mo naman yung mga usapan dyan, porsyento. So, it's a matter of getting their share of money plus their share of the credit, because although we say, sinasabi natin na hindi naman ganun ka-importante who takes the credit. Sadly, sa elections pa rin, it needs to be pointed out who did what kasi that's how they campaign, di ba? That's why bigla na lang a few weeks before the election, yung mga daan nyo, binabagong aspalto na naman kahit kaka-aspalto lang yan nung di ba? Tuwing may election sa Batangas, sa Calatagan, aspalto na naman yung daan, parang kaka-aspalto lang niya.
Kailangan ubusin yung pondo, Mikel.
Yun na nga.
Kasi sayang pag binilig sa National Treasury.
Yun na nga, pero doon ko alam kung kailan na yung bagong election kasi gumagawa na naman ng mga daan, biglang may bagong basketball court, may
Tsaka yung procurement, Attorney Jong, merong problema dyan. Dapat siguro i-amendahan na rin yung law on procurement kasi isipin mo, damn if you do, damn if you don't kasi yan Pag hindi mo naubos yung budget sa'yo, it will be, they will use it against you in the next budget hearing. Kasi hindi mo nagamit
But Ron, that's also how it is in the corporate world. You have to use your budgets. If you don't use your budgets in the corporate world, you don't get to carry that over next time.
Yeah, because you ask for that budget, di ba? You ask for that budget. When you ask for that budget, it's because you have to roll out an expense project.
Kaso
now,
nga,
if you cannot do that within 12 months,
madami namang restrictions on how to use the budget.
Congress will frown upon it because they have allocated it to you instead of to others. I think that's the reason why budget are to be strictly implemented. But right now they extend yung mga budget 1 year to 2 years, you just have to ask for an extension up to 2 years.
I just want to cite also, Mikel, just to prove a point. Remember just recently when Globe, during the last SONA, the president sort of made special mention of the telcos.
Yeah.
Pag hindi nyo natapos yan, hindi nagawa yan by the end of the year, mag-add sa balutan na kayo. What happened? Okay, si Globe, the CEO of Globe went to Malacanang, spoke to the president, and then we found out what the problem was. Na it takes 200 plus days for you to get a permit to put up a cell tower. We didn't know that. And then now, si General Año worked on it because he was told by the president to do so. Yun pala, kaya pala in 20 days. How many administrations have gone by na ganun pala yung problema na ngayon lang ninayos, di ba? So,
well, at least naayos na. Hopefully maayos na yung internet natin, ang mga phone corp natin.
Yeah.
At hindi naman wala ng internet si Ron.
Kasi dito sa atin, pinagyayabang na natin ng 50, 100 Mbps. Yung pala, pagdating sa Singapore, 500 Mbps ang kanilang speed. Kawawa naman tayo dito.
Kaka-text lang ng nanay ko sa akin sa London. Nasa London siya, sabi niya, in-upgrade na yung internet niya, 500 Mbps. Sana all.
Yeah, meron naman siguro silver lining sa mga pangyayari dyan. Kasi obviously, I'm sure Celine knows this kasi she works for the advertising agency, that the two duopolies, Smart and Globe, are working their asses off to improve their services because they know a third party is coming in. Right?
Yep.
So Dito is coming in, and they have they put up a bond, Attorney Jong, no? which is like 5 billion ba, Attorney Jong? Na
Parang,
they,
yeah.
they have to meet certain requirements for the bond to para mabawi nila yung bond na yun before they start. So merong, I think, certain number of cell sites, and then the speed has to be this much. So that's a good thing for the consumers, which I don't think would have happened if we didn't have a leader who's is hell bent in making sure that we get what we deserve as a people of this republic. So yan lang, yun yung mga bagay na ano. And so with that, siguro maybe we can do our big takeaway from this conversation, starting with Attorney Jong. Attorney Jong, what's your big takeaway with our conversation? Thank you so much, by the way, for coming in, even you were a little bit late. Your opinion is very valuable. Kahit na sometimes it's differing, or it's it's a good point for to start the conversation with something that's contrast to how you see things. So Attorney John, what's your take on the
Binabasa ko yung comment, revolutionary government, Presscon, Leni, and corruption on the side. Anong order mo ngayong gabi, kaibigan? Well, the president ran on a campaign of my government will be clean. Okay. And I think my only hope, meron pa siyang 2 taon natitira, I have to see corrupt official punished.
Okay.
That's I think the fulfillment of the president's promise na to get that it will not be a corrupt government. And right now we have we heard a lot of social media horror from this pandemic of very abusive people linked to this guy, linked to that guy, who have obviously escaped investigation,
But Attorney
escape
Jong,
prosecution.
the DILG already announced that it has filed cases against
50.
500 plus airing local officials.
Yeah. Those are the local officials. I am more particularly hunting those that are really bigger officials, no?
The big
Those
fish.
that are
Big fish.
no? Those officials that have really been sabi nga nila sobrang kakapal, sobrang balasubas ang ginawa during this pandemic. And I have yet to see if they will indeed be held accountable by this administration. And kumakalat naman yan kalat yan sa social media, yung mga nagawa na yan. Hindi ko lang alam kung there are proof or there are people willing to testify, but yun na sa akin. Somebody has to get accountable for what they did sa COVID funds.
Yeah, I'm all for that, Attorney Jong.
Lahat na yun.
I just wish that we had a faster way of going about, going through due process and getting people in jail as faster than the usual.
Mm-mm.
Miss Celine, our wellness guru.
Well,
Pastor, what can you say?
my vote is syempre for the people, diba? It's always for the Philippines. With the Filipinos have voted for President Duterte, diba? So he is now our leader, and let's all cooperate and help him help us. And I'd like to end with a message from the angels. I don't know if you guys believe in mga tarot readings, but I received this gift from my sister, Angels and Abundance Oracle cards. So I'd like to pick one card coming from the angels.
Bagong racket to.
Yeah.
Anong magiging message ng angel for the abundance of the Filipinos.
Kinakabahan ako, Celine.
Ayan. So ito ang nakuha kong message from the angels. Donations, tithing, and charitable work. Babasahin ko. Give joyfully to the organizations and people who spiritually support and inspire you. And know that your generosity will be returned to you many-fold in miraculous ways. The time, supplies, money, or other resources you donate will ensure that your positive energy multiplies.
Wow.
Yo.
Ayun. So
Great.
magtulungan daw tayo. Yun ang message ng angels sa atin.
So let's
Tama.
promote social entrepreneurship.
Yun. Nice one, Miss Celine. Maganda yun. Magandang message yun. So, I just want to, before Mikael starts with this big takeaway, I just want to acknowledge again, no? So Mikael, the owner of Auntie Anne's, has been very generous with our frontliners, even the security guards, the ones who are, working in duress. Kasi anybody can be, can definitely get infected by COVID. But they've been doing their jobs. They've been, steadfast. And Mikael has been trying to reward them in his own small way by, giving them freebies and also doing promos in their behalf. So, Mikael, what's your big takeaway?
Well, first, thank you. No, we've had the promo nga for the last 3 weeks for the frontliners. So the healthcare workers, the security workers, government workers, and everybody who work like essential services, sa mga malls, janitors, everybody. And we're so happy because so many people actually took us up on the offer. The past 3 weeks, we've extended it, and we're so glad that people were able to get it. Wala talaga kami masyadong kita dyan. It's really just a way. I promised this a long time ago. No March pa lang, April, I put it on our Facebook page. I'll find a way to say thank you to the frontliners in our small little way. I know it's very little, but anyway, thank you. Continue pa rin yung laban ng mga frontliners. So let's help them by being responsible also. Hindi pa tapos ang laban, although naka-GCQ na tayo, hindi ibig sabihin na we can all do whatever we want now. As you can see today, there's 5,000 cases yata, no, Ron, today yung announcement.
Yeah.
So madami pa rin COVID dyan. So guys, don't let your guard down. In terms of other messages, thank you so much to Celine and Attorney Jong, and also thank you to all of those people who watched us from all over the world. There's some Spain, Kazakhstan, everybody, and even here sa Philippines. May mga discussions, may mga healthy debates na dito sa comment section natin, but like what we always say, there's nothing wrong with having a differing opinion. Okay lang yon. Ang importante dyan is we're open and we listen to each other. And then we see what's right and what's wrong, and we respect the other person's opinion always, no? Ang mahirap sa atin ngayon is, kuwari, galing sa Yellow, galing sa Duterte, lahat mali kagad. Okay, hindi pwedeng ganyan. We have to stop that. We have to stop adding to the division that we already have in this country. Sobrang lala na ng division natin na hindi mo lang makausap yung certain friends mo dahil iba yung views nila, di ba? Parang maling-mali talaga yon, no? We can't be losing friends and family over our political views. That's not right. We should all want what's best for the Philippines, for the Filipinos, and let's fight for that. Ang last ko lang na piece of advice sana for everybody is especially for my friends who are more well-to-do. No? Kasi let's put ourselves in the shoes of the average Pinoy, the people who go through so much hardship on a day-to-day basis. Let's ask, why did they vote for this guy? In overwhelming numbers, what is it that they want, they need that we don't see? Okay, instead of just saying, oh, mali sila, bobo sila, they shouldn't have voted for that guy as a potty mouth, whatever. Whether you like it or not, they voted for a reason. Let's find out what that is and see what we can do, whether it's better education, better help, or whatnot. Ayoko na yung charity, guys. Like I said so many times, tama na yung charity lang. Charity is good. But if we really want to make a better Philippines, we have to make the playing field fair, and we have to give better opportunities to the poorer brothers and sisters. Only difference between me and somebody who's poor is I was born into a better circumstance. Okay? Or you cannot say na I work harder. Yung mga Pinoys, they work crazy hard. Alam, that's known all over the world. Gaano kasipag ang Pinoy and gaano sila ka-hardworking. So it's just a matter of opportunities and being given a fair chance. So sana we can find ways to give our fellow Pinoys better opportunities here in our country without them having to leave. Okay? Yun lang. Tas peace, love, and togetherness, y'all. Yun lang. Huwag na tayo mag-away, okay? Huwag na tayo just be good for the Philippines. Yun lang. Thank you, guys.
Good vibes, good vibes. Thanks, Mikel. I just want to say thank you to Mike Apolonio for his contribution to our discussion here. Ronan Maribel Mikoy, of course, Attorney Mikoy. Salamat, Attorney Mikoy. Thank you for joining us. I know the reason you decided to join us because you have our handsome gentleman from San Juan joining us, si Attorney Jong. Taka mo na, Mikel, were you joking that he's your lawyer? Is he your lawyer?
Attorney Mikoy is my lawyer. He's my classmate. Kilala ni Attorney Jong yan from a law firm.
Oh, man.
But he's my...
Ninang ko yung partner ni Attorney Mikoy.
Attorney Gruba?
Sa kasal.
Yeah, so Mikoy, he voted for Duterte, but syempre, like, I admire Mikoy because, like I always say, he will also point out the wrong. Even if, he supports this government, he always wants what's best. And that's why he's my lawyer, because he's very fair and he always does the right thing. Yun, Mikoy. Wala na ako retainer,
Attorney Mikoy, salamat. Salamat sa pag-join sa ating discussion. Si Junjun Asoik, thank you also for watching. I know you have some stuff to say about Duque, but Secretary Duque, but he's trying his best. That's all I can say about that. To make sure the DOH does its job. Si Faye, salamat Faye for joining us. And si Kenneth, Susie, also si Ohms. Thank you so much for joining us. And like Mikel said, international yung ating audience ngayon, Mikel. Solid na. Malapit mo nang...
Tapos may bago na tayong segment, yung tarot cards ni Celine.
Correct. Okay, no? Instead of the negative segment
yung
natin.
Pasaway of the day mo, Ron. Ba't walang pasaway of the day today, Ron?
Wait, pwede ba magpahabol?
Go.
Kung gusto niyo ng good vibes, please listen to my album, Scrub Good Vibes. Pa-search na lang sa YouTube, meron din sa Spotify, Celine Veloso, Scrubbing Good Vibrations.
Yun. Bawal stalking, ha? Ano lang, ha? Music appreciation lang ito. All right, guys. Don't forget the basic guidelines of the DOH and the DILG. We are here also to promote bida ang may disiplina. What is bida? Bawal ang walang mask. Please lang, ang dami ko na-encounter araw-araw na may mga taong optional lang ang pagsuot ng mask. Magsuot naman kayo ng mask. Ayun, Celine, pakita mo pa ang suotin yung mask na yan. Ayun. Bawal ang walang mask. Yan. Dapat ang itsura natin. Hindi naman ganun the beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. Tapos, isanitize ang kamay, distansya ng 1 metro at alamin ang totoong impormasyon. Bawal po ang fake news. Okay? Huwag kayong post ng post. Mag-isip muna bago kayo mag-post ng isang bagay. I-verify muna ninyo. Be responsible for what you post because what you post will affect 2, 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 of your friends. And it's either gonna make their day or make it a bad one. So always think about that when you post something on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever social media platform you're using right now. Okay? So that's it, folks. And bidang may disiplina, huwag kakalimutan. At mag-volunteer po kayo sa Barangay Disciplina Brigade. Kung if you feel like you want to volunteer and help out in disseminating information for the government, or just to remind your community to follow the rules, be part of the Barangay Disciplina Brigade. Salamat po. And good night, everyone. And hope you guys enjoy the show. We'll catch you again this Friday. We will have Mr. Mark Lopez as our guest. For those who know Mark Lopez, one of the more popular bloggers, he will be part of our show this Friday. Ayos ba?
Nice.
Kung hindi ka Celine and Attorney Jong, please feel free to join us this Friday. All right. Mas all right. All right. So, good night. See you guys. Bye.